welcome back to What Grows Around Comes Around with your host Josh. Today we are going to be doing some seed propagation. I know this has been something that a lot of people want to see. I'm excited to do it. We have some really cool varieties for you. We're going to be using a starter tray that I've never used. This is a Jiffy Seed Starter Greenhouse, it's called. It has a little greenhouse lid that I'll be showing you guys in a moment. We are not sponsored by Jiffy, by the way. This is just what I found at Home Depot. So we're going to be using that, and the seeds we're growing today, we got some really cool varieties. So I know in our last video we talked about harvesting sunflowers, but today we're going to be doing some Mammoth Sunflowers. This is, I believe, let's see, it's just called Mammoth Sunflower. That's the variety. So we have these. Those are going to be really cool. They get about 12 feet tall, and we're going to be doing a future video specifically on them where we show you every day from seed to harvest. So it's going to be really cool. Look forward to that. These take about 100 days, so look for that in about 4 months, alright? Next we have our thyme. This is common thyme, is the variety. We had some English thyme growing on the property, but it didn't fare too well. I think what had happened was we had a lot of heavy rain and it was just getting flooded out. So, common thyme. We have cilantro / coriander. Coriander is actually the seeds of the cilantro flower. So we're planting cilantro, but what's going to happen is when it grows all the way, you get some coriander out of it as well. So we have that. It's a good spice if you're using like Mexican cooking or anything like that. Actually, I'm going to cover this one first. We got some Genovese Basil. So we had sweet basil growing on the property before. We still do. It wasn't looking the best. I just didn't like the way it was growing. The flavor was okay. I just wasn't that happy with the plant's progress. So I wanted to try it from seed. The basil I had growing before was a store-bought basil that I just saw it at the store and was like, you know what, I want to try basil. So it was good, but now I want to get into the world of seed starting. That way the basil comes out even better. And last we have a pretty unique one. These are just annual zinnias. So these are multicolored flowers. They're very, very attractive to pollinators like bees and butterflies and birds, which is what we want because we want to make sure that our tomato plants, our pepper plants, such as the things you see behind us, that they have enough pollination to actually produce fruit. So we're going to be trying some flowers. We're going to put them all around the property and just give everything some color so it'll look pretty and also hopefully help our edibles. So without further ado, let's get right into the actual seed start, okay? So, let's just open up this thing. I've, again, never used this, so let's see how it looks. This is just a lot of cardboard with some instructions on it. I think that's upside down. Some instructions. So, we have that. Let me actually just put that over there. Goodbye. Cool. So, in here we have the seed rows. There are, I believe there were 50 of these. Looks like 5 trays of 10. They look kind of like egg cartons to me. So let's take these out. I'll just stack them for now. I kind of thought they were going to be all one row, but this makes more sense because you can separate them if you need to. This thing also comes with little seed signs, which is neat, so I can label the seedlings. So I'm actually going to have to grab a Sharpie. I'll do that in a bit. Oh, it thanks us for our purchase. That's so cute. Okay. And then we also have some plant vitamin for seedlings. Just mix with water and moisten seed starting medium. Okay, so this is just some seed fertilizer, I guess. That's cool. I guess I can try it if it recommends it, you know? Give it a shot. I'm trying to use the product as it's recommended and compare it to other ways I've grown. So we'll find out kind of what works the best that way. So we're going to put our seed rows in here, just like so. And without further ado, I will put this here for now, and I am going to go grab a Sharpie, so I'll be right back. Alright guys, so we got our Sharpie. It's a little big, but you know, it'll work. We also have this heavy watering can that I mixed with the seed starting fertilizer. We're gonna put that in the seed mix. Now, you're probably wondering what soil are we using, because we can't just plant them in nothing. So what we are using, we're trying out the seed starting mix that the seed row recommended, which is Jiffy Seed Starting Mix. It is OMRI listed, it's organic. As I've told you many times, we try and only use organic products. I will say I cheated a little bit. Some of these seed packets weren't organically grown, except for the basil. Yay. But I just couldn't find all organic seeds that I wanted to grow. So, they're not organic. But the plants will grow organic and their seeds will be organic, so it'll be fine. So, we're going to tear open this and get started. Tear open this and get scissors. Got it. Okay, so I'm back with the scissors, and we are going to cut open our seed starting mix. This is the first time I've used special formulated soil of any kind, really, outside of using organic soil, which I always do. So we're going to try this out. The main difference between this soil and other soil is this going to have very fine grain. What you're looking at here is a mix of peat moss, vermiculite, perlite, and they said something else. I think it was coconut coir. So it's very fine grained. The vermiculite's going to help with water retention. The perlite's going to make sure that it drains fast enough, and the peat moss is going to be the organic growing medium. So we're using this instead of regular soil, which doesn't have as much peat moss or coconut coir, because it will let the seedlings break the soil surface a lot easier. So we're just going to start filling it in. And maybe it would have been better if I only used one hand, just so I didn't get as dirty. But here we are, getting dirty. Yeah, now the only annoying thing that the seed rows have, because they're split, is it's going to fall in between them. But that's okay. I'll try and not get the whole setup messy here. So you want to make sure it's nice and level. You don't want air pockets or anything. Air pockets are going to result in kind of shoddy germination, and that is because the seeds, if they're not tightly pressed in, won't recognize that they are actually in soil and ready to grow. It's kind of a biological instinct that they have pre-programmed in them, just over the eons of existence. So make sure you have good seed to soil contact by filling it all in and then making sure that the seed medium is nice and wet. Because if the seed medium is nice and wet, the seeds are going to stick to it almost like a glue, and they're going to be nice and happy, cozy. It's going to be great. Okay, so it's nice and filled. Now we're going to want to pre-water, pre-soak. We're going to pre-soak, that way we'll see if there's any holes. And also, here's a stick. I was saying that this stuff is very fine grain. This stick is not fine grain. Let's get rid of that stick. So, we're going to pre-soak. I have this watering can here that we're going to use to pre-soak the medium. I'm going to do it very slowly and hopefully not ruin everything. Now, we're going to have to let it soak in, so when that's done soaking, we will continue our work here. This is very, very wet and also very dry at the same time. This is a very interesting feeling. It's going to need more soil. This is overly wet. This is a bit strange, actually. Okay, so let's get more soil. So, that was a pain in the butt. The soil was very, very dry, and I made it very, very wet and then had to fix the problem. So, it's not overwatered anymore. There's a lot of water on the ground. Anyway, it's about to rain, so we're going to try and get this video on the roll. So, we're going to start by planting our sunflowers, because sunflowers are cool. So, unfortunately, these seed packs are really soaked. I'm worried that means the seeds are all going to be needed to be planted now, and that's not going to happen. So we're going to do what we can do. We're going to get the sunflowers going, and they're going to just pour out of the bag, apparently, because the bag is soaked, as I said. So we're going to get them going. So, to do that, sunflowers are a big seed. See that? See how big that seed is right there? So with this seed being so large, we're going to make sure we plant it nice and deep, about ½ inch. So we're going to go in with our finger and make about a ½ inch hole. Just like that. Where's the... I couldn't find the hole. So it's funny, this container says that it's got 50 seed spots, but, you know, 4 times 2 times 5 is 40, not 50, so whatever. We're going to put two in a hole, just to guarantee germination. And here, you can take a look exactly how we do that. So for sunflower, it's very easy. We're just plopping 2 in a hole, and then lightly covering it in seed medium. Lightly covering. You don't want to press too hard so it can break the soil surface nice and easy. So we're going to do 1 row of this. So yeah, so we got the 1 row of sunflowers. And now what we're going to do, before we forget, we're going to label the sunflower. And usually you want to put the variety, so I'll put Mammoth. Now we are only growing one type of sunflower, but it's nice to remember. So here we go. You can see sunflower, Mammoth. So we'll stick that right in there, right at the end. And we're on to the next seed. Next we have, let's do zinnias. These feel like kind of a big seed. For this packet I need a pair of scissors. Now, besides the zinnias and the sunflowers, and maybe the cilantro, or I guess at this point coriander because it's a seed, they're kind of small. Like the herbs tend to have really small seeds, so you got to be careful with them. But here, we'll take out some zinnia seeds and show you what we're working with. These are interesting little flat seed pods. I've never seen these myself. So zinnia, again, is an annual flower, and since these are a bit smaller, when we make these seed rows, we're going to go ahead and put a little bit smaller of a depression into the seeds, into the seed cups. So you're not too big of a depression like that. And then again, we're going to follow the rule of 2. So the reason we want 2 is because sometimes some seeds aren't viable, or they're viable but they don't produce very good plants. So what you're going to do is after the seeds germinate, you're going to go in and you're going to pick out the one that looks better, and you're going to pinch off the other one. Now, pinching off plants sometimes upsets people because they're like, well, I had a plant grow and I don't want it to be pinched off. What you can do in that case is, if you really want, you can kind of go work with your fingers around the soil level and separate them to get 2 plants each. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that because there's a lot of work and seeds aren't that expensive, but if you're really attached to your seedlings, that is what you could do. Alright, so we need 1 more zinnia from here. I actually might go ahead and do 2 rows of zinnias, because I have the seed space for it. Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Sweet! Zinnias are done, so we're going to move on to our next seed, but don't forget, label, label, label. These are California Giant Zinnia. Zinnia Cali Giant. Cool. Alright. Next seed we have is our cilantro and coriander. If you want to come in and close and take a look at that. So we have our cilantro, and now I'll get to be able to show you the seeds. Yeah, these seed packets got really ruined by the rain we had, unfortunately, so these might not be viable after this, but seeds are cheap. Each packet was less than $2 except for the basil. And there you go, you can see what they look like. Can you see that in there? So yeah, so we're gonna plant these guys.
They look like little peanuts.
They do. They're like little babies. But because the seed is, again, a little bit bigger, not quite like the sunflower, we're gonna go a little deeper than the zinnia. And we're gonna do another row, 2 in a cup. Now you could put 3 in a cup if you want. If you want to get really crazy, you want to really make sure that your seeds germinate. I think I accidentally just put 3 in that cup. That was a mistake. It just fell out of my hand. But you don't really need to put 3. You can go ahead and just stick with 2. 3 will give you a higher rate of germination, probably, but then you're also wasting more seeds. Usually, seeds from a reputable dealer are going to germinate. So, as long as you don't give them terrible conditions, they're going to grow up fine. So that's the cilantro / coriander. All done. Alright, so next we have our Genovese basil. This is the one organic seed that we had, because luckily I was able to find it. But as I said, you know, we're gonna treat all our plants with organic products, organic pesticides if they need it, organic copper fungicide if they need it, anything like that. We're gonna use only organic fertilizers, and the resultant plants and seeds will be organic, so it'll be okay. But yeah, there's the basil seeds. They're very small, so for these guys, you're gonna want to put just a very tiny depression, just a light little press with your finger. You probably don't even need it, the little depression. If you really don't want to, you could just put them on the soil surface and tap them in, or sprinkle soil. But I'm gonna put just a little depression, and for these I will put 3 because they're so small. They just might not be as viable. They might get crushed by the soil, basically. So I'm gonna put 3 per cup. And label. So, Genovese basil is your classic Italian basil. You'll often hear Genovese intermingled with sweet basil. They are actually different varieties. Sweet basil is also an Italian style basil. The Genovese is, at least according to Google, a slightly more traditional style. It has a bit more spicy flavor. Here, I'll read what the seed packet says. It says, not only is it slow to bolt, but it's a classic basil variety that has a concentrated flavor and fine sweet fragrance that's fantastic for seasonings, salads, garnishes, and pesto. So it's good for Italian cooking. That's what that says in layman's terms. So Genovese basil. Last we have our thyme. We have our thyme here. This packet got really wet, so let's try and be careful about this one. Oh my, holy moly. Look at those seeds. They're so small. And the reason they're pressed up against the wall is because, like I said, it rained. Okay, so very tiny depressions this time for our thyme. This time for our thyme. You got it. I'm not even going to count these. I'm just going to sprinkle a few in each hole and see what happens. Oh boy. It is very hard to tell what I'm doing. Pretty sure there's like 77 in each hole or something like that. So maybe not quite that much. However, more than enough is the point. So there we go. We'll put in our last label. And the last two seed rows here, we have like one tray here and one tray here. We're not going to use them right now. I was thinking about planting some more. We have strawberry seeds, pepper seeds, and tomato seeds. But I'm not going to plant them right now because, well, frankly, I just don't have the space to grow them. We're a small space growing channel, and we have a small space. So since we have peppers and tomatoes growing behind you, we'll stick with those till they harvest and then consider new plants. However, I mentioned in a previous video that we might be doing some making money on the side with gardening. We might start growing a bit larger scale amount of plants to sell, but for now we don't have that set up just yet, so we're sticking with home growing. So there we go. We have our seeds all on the table. We have our seed rows in there. Now we just gotta wait for our plant children to grow. Got our labels, our seeds, and empty rows. So, I think that about wraps up today's video. It's been kind of an interesting experience working with this seed tray and also this really strong wind that is blowing all the seeds everywhere. Sorry about the wind. We get some weird weather here. But we're going to obviously keep you updated on our growing here. These plants will germinate. I think the zinnias take only 3 or 4 days, so they're going to start germinating very soon for us. What we're going to do is we're going to keep you up to date on our Facebook page and our Instagram page, which should be released very soon, probably today or tomorrow. Keep an eye out for that. There'll be links in the description. We're going to keep you day to day on this, and we might even do a short follow-up video going over the seeds progress. But I'm very excited about these plants. I hope you are. I think seed growing is one of the most fun activities a gardener can do. It is kind of exceptionally rewarding to see that you're able to take something from the very beginning of its life cycle all the way to harvest, where you can actually use it later in life. So I'm excited. I hope you are. Until next time, I want you guys to, if you like the video, throw me a like. Please tell your friends. Share the video if you want to do so. Subscribe. But yeah, until next time, we'll see ya.
Teach me how to garden. Teach me how to garden.
I can't say the next line. Okay, so guys, you want to check out these seeds? They're pretty sweet. What are you doing over there?
I'm here to interrupt your daily afternoon program to talk about plants.
I'm terrified.
Plants. Grow them. Be green. Josh is back.
What the heck? Way to sabotage my film.
On today's episode of Josh Makes a Mess.